First of all, this was not my idea. None of it. I was a victim of bad luck and good manners. It was Christmas break from school, and my mum didn't want me to be alone at home while she was working. That's how I ended up at Aunt Margaret's house for 2 weeks. Her friends called her Peggy. I called her Aunt Mum because she was in charge of me for so much of my childhood. Normally, my cousins Kelly and Debbie are there to keep me company and keep me busy, but not this time. Kelly was 14 like me, while Debbie was 17. They were a lot of fun to be with, but this year, Kelly decided to spend Christmas a few states away with her father and his new family. One less kid in the house meant I got to sleep in a bed instead of the couch. Debbie's room was next to the one I was sleeping in, while Aunt Mum and her husband Hank had their master bedroom at the end of the hall. He was just Hank, not Uncle Hank. They married 2 years ago, and by then, it seemed too late to give him the title. While the kids were getting a break from schoolwork, Hank was still heading to the office every day. He sold princess cakes to grocery stores, convenience stores, and vending machine companies. He was great at it, topping the sales leaderboard for the region several months in a row. Who knew America needed so many snack cakes? I mean, I know I did, but I couldn't speak for everyone else. The good news is there was never a lack of chocolate cake in the house, like ever. Chocolate isn't your thing. Then the lemon bars are available. Holiday snacks? There were pumpkin bars. I had the menu for my holidays all planned out. Hank was better than just a snack guy. He was good to my aunt, he treated my cousins like daughters and me, better than the freeloader that I was at times like this. Now that I've explained that, you may better understand what happened. Debbie and I got up in time for a very late breakfast that some may refer to as lunch. Hey, pancakes are too good to be held to just one meal. We were deep into a movie that you may have seen. Someone was trying to save Christmas, and it was not going to be easy. Another thing that didn't sound easy was the phone conversation happening in the kitchen. Aunt Mum was getting louder with each sound she was making. I have no idea what was being said on the other end of the line, but she was saying things like, "Impossible, she's too far, and I'll try rubbing every lamp in the house to see if that helps." Once she was off the phone, she came into the living room with a worried look on her face. "We have a big problem, and I don't know what to do. Hank called, and there is a special dinner tonight for the company, and his entire family is supposed to be there. Obviously, Kelly can't make it, but she was mentioned, as were you, Debbie. What's the worst that happens if she isn't there?" Debbie lifted her head from the recliner enough to see her mother. "I don't think I like anyone thinking I didn't have plans already tonight. Even if you did, they would be changed for this." Aunt Mum stared at both of us to make sure we were paying attention. "Hank says the owner of the company is in town for one night and expects to meet the families of employees who are up for promotion. He's very family-oriented, and this could be a big break for Hank and all of us." She stopped talking for a moment, chewing her nails while she paced back and forth in front of the TV and mumbling to herself for a moment before throwing her hands in the air. "I have too much to do to get myself ready. We have to be there at 5,030. I need a new outfit, I have to get my hair done and get my nails cleaned up. Debbie, I need you to be ready by 5. Mark, I guess you're on your own for tonight." With that announcement completed, she spent 10 minutes in front of the mirror before grabbing her coat and purse and heading to the garage. She had the salon on speed dial, according to Debbie, and she could get someone to squeeze her in for an emergency styling. We finished the movie, and I decided that I smelled ready for a shower. I was told that a lot of the soaps and shampoos were off limits. I ended up with dragon fruit shampoo and conditioner that left my hair shiny and curly. The body wash left me smelling like there was funeral inside a florist shop. I came out of the bathroom with a towel wrapped around my waist and my wet hair combed over ears and down the back of my head to my shoulders. As I walked to my bedroom, Debbie was standing in her doorway, almost like she was waiting for me. "Mark," she said my name almost like it was a question. "What do you think about Hank? I really like him." I was sure where this was going, so I was being a little cautious in my answer. "I think I may be the son he never had. At least, not yet." Hank was not a handyman by any stretch, but he did show me how to take the car in for an oil change, and he took me to baseball games on occasion. "If he was in trouble, would you help him?" Debbie had a look in her eye that made it clear where this line of questioning was heading. Is Hank in trouble like he needs to borrow $5? Or is the trouble like Hank is going to prison? It's not quite the second one, but closer to that than the first one. Debbie stepped closer to me. "Can I try something? I think you could be Kelly for one night. If it doesn't work, then we can forget it, but at least we tried. If it does work, then you could be a hero. I could also be humiliated, as could Hank. Lots of H words are in play, like hell. So do hello and huge help. This is just between you and me." Debbie looked determined to try this. "If you say no once I'm done, then this ends." I wanted to fight this. I did not want to spend my evening pretending to be my cousin, but the pleading look Debbie gave me was stronger than my will to avoid her plan. She led me to her room and sat me down in front of her mirror. My hair was heading to rock star length, but wasn't quite there yet. She brushed it out several times before she put some goop in it, brushing, combing and twisting before using a curling iron to get the look she was after. Once that was done, she pulled out some kind of tackle box of creams and powders, bottles, brushes, tubes and pencils. Unless she told me to open my eyes, I kept them closed while she did her work. Occasionally, I had to look left or right, open my mouth, or rub my lips together. Once Debbie was done, she did not let me look in the mirror. Instead, she brought me a few wrapped gifts. The tags all said Kelly, but I was told that I was the one who needed these right now. The first box was a pair of black patent leather shoes with a 2-inch heel. There were a series of straps and buckles that held the shoe in place. I was sure that I was not going to be able to run in these. These seem dangerous, I said as I lifted one to examine it. Ha, that's the starter set. They get much bigger from here. Debbie took the shoe from me and handed me another box. Next, she commanded. The next box was rather large and was filled with tissue paper. As I pushed it aside, I saw some shiny material. I grabbed it and pulled it out, revealing a black velvet top with short puffy sleeves. Silver sequins lined the neck and the bottoms of the sleeves. The skirt started near the belly button, made of satin in the same shade of black. Several layers of black netting underneath pushed the skirt out. A final layer of fine netting over the satin was covered in sequins randomly set except for the final inch of the skirt, in a solid silver sequin loop. At the bottom of the box was a black velvet sash, along with silver hair clips that matched the dress. Okay, one more to go. Debbie handed me a gift bag, much smaller than the last present. Merry Christmas. I reached inside the bag with a girl elf printed on it, sliding past more tissue paper to find something felt, I don't know, I want to say lacy? I pinched it between my fingers, pulling out a pair of black satin panties with lace trim along the top and at the leg holes. I guess I took too long to examine them closely, because Debbie cleared her throat and told me there was more. I reached back in, fishing around until I found a strap. I pulled out a bra that matched the undies I was just looking at. It looked like it would fit Kelly well, but was going to help anyone with curves. It's padded. Get over it. Debbie reached over and took the bra from me. She opened the straps a little, then barked orders to me. Arms up. I complied, letting her move the garment into position and leaving me with a new sensation. She continued to adjust the straps until she was satisfied. Debbie then handed me the panties, declaring it was my turn to put something on me. They slid up easily, although I had to turn my back and drop the towel to get them in position. When I turned back to face her, I gave the image of a young teen girl who was very underdressed to go anywhere. Since I can't see myself, you need to tell me how I look. I stared at Debbie, but she seemed to be at a loss for words. It's just that, wow. That girl had a way with words. That way was known as awkward. Once she shook herself out of it, she said she needed one more thing, leaving for a moment and returning with a package of black tights. Do you know how to put these on? It would have been weird if I did, and with a sigh, she pointed me to the bed and started working the hose up one leg. Once she had that to the knee, she slapped my leg and pointed to the other one. I pointed my toe and she worked the hose up until both sides were about halfway to the goal. I stood, pulling the tights up to my waist and jumping when it felt necessary to get them in position. Once all was in place, Debbie grabbed the shoes and had me sit again. She got the left one in place and I could see how the straps were supposed to go. One around the ankle and two across the foot. I put the right shoe on by myself while Debbie shook out the dress. I unzipped the dress and stepped inside. I pulled the dress up, sliding one arm into the short sleeve and then the other. Debbie moved everything into position before sliding the zipper up and connecting the clasp. Almost there, Debbie announced. She grabbed the sash and wrapped it around my waist, tying it in a big bow over my butt. She pulled the hair clips from the bag, settling them onto each side of my head. She grabbed my arm. Okay, I think you're ready to see. Close your eyes and don't open them until I tell you to. I closed my eyes as instructed and she pulled me into position in front of her dresser. Open. I tried really hard. I really wanted to see me in that mirror, but I couldn't. Instead, what I saw was someone who looked a lot like my cousin Kelly. I moved slowly, watching the girl in the mirror make all the same moves. It was scary not to have a reflection, like I was in another body. I could have stood there for hours, but someone clearing her throat behind me snapped me out of it. What do you think? Can you be Kelly for one night? Debbie was now standing next to the mirror so she could face me. I think I can look like her. Acting and sounding like her is another thing. That led to an hour or so of shows and videos of women moving, with advice ranging from move like a cat to walking like I was on a tightrope. I settled on taking shorter steps and trying not to fall on my face. My instructor eventually left me alone for a few minutes to get ready herself. Hank was going to go straight from work to the dinner, so we were going to let Aunt Mum decide if I should be included as Kelly's fill-in. Eventually, my big sister appeared in a bright red dress that was clinging to her from her shoulder to her knees. Her hair was pulled back into a bun surrounded by a gold net. Dangling gold earrings nearly matched her hair colour. The bright red pumps matched the dress, as well as her purse and her lips. Debbie breezed past me to the dining room. Come here, again with the commands, but I was not in a position to fight her. I pulled out a chair from the table and slid my hands under my butt to keep the skirt in place as I sat. Hands on the table and spread your fingers apart. My drill sergeant pulled out a bottle of nail polish from her purse that matched her entire outfit. She opened it, releasing the smell of someone putting a fresh coat of paint on their car. She pulled the brush out, scraping off the extra polish before wiping it across my index finger a few times until it was completely covered. It took just a few minutes before that finger and his 9 closest friends all had matching outfits. Just as she was finishing my pinky, her phone rang, and my life was threatened if I moved before she returned. It was apparently not a good day for phone calls in this house, because none of her conversation sounded happy. That was Mum. She said the salon was busier than she thought, and she won't make it here to get me. She said I should drive over and meet her and Hank there. They don't know about you yet. Let's get over there and hopefully we can catch them in the parking lot. I took a step towards the door. I wanted to take a step. I really did. Sure, it was a plan that was neither well thought out or approved of, but I agreed to it. However, my legs seemed to have second thoughts about whether I should do it or not. I can't do this. The announcement surprised both of us. People will know that I am not a girl. I will embarrass us all. You're being stupid. Debbie was not handing out any sympathy today. She pulled a hand mirror from the bathroom and shoved it into my hand. When I look at you, I see my sister Kelly in her new holiday dress. I do not see a boy. I know you see the same thing based on your reaction earlier. Am I right? She had me there. Maybe I could pull this off, help Hank get the promotion, and survive the whole thing. My legs finally unlocked and started moving again towards the door. I was handed a black coat or cape thing with a fur collar. Debbie grabbed her coat, slid her purse over her shoulder, and opened the door to the garage. She turned to look at me, raising her right hand and moving some hair from over my left eye. I can't believe it, she said as she let the hair settle in place. My baby sister is all grown up. Everyone will love you. If you panic, just look down at your hands or dress and remember who you are supposed to be. Debbie then leaned in close, whispering, if anything goes wrong, people will not blame you. They will blame her instead. For some reason, Kelly getting angry messages from people she doesn't know made me smile. We piled into Debbie's car after throwing away enough trash for 2 people could fit inside. She really needed to wash her car more often. As we drove towards potential disaster, she went over the details repeatedly like we were going to pull off a bank heist. Keep your knees together when you sit. Take small bites and sip your drink slowly. Say as little as possible. As she turned into the driveway of the country club, she gave final instructions like it was half a cheer and half a prayer. This is it. I have everything you need on my purse, so stay close. If you get nervous, grab my hand and we'll head to the ladies' room. Smile, but not so much that you're flirting with anyone. With that last note, we rolled to a stop at the valet station. My door opened and a guy a few years older than me helped me to my feet. I stepped onto the curb, where Debbie met me, and put her arm through mine, leading me to the front door. A girl, with a gold vest, asked to check our coats as we entered. Once that was done, we followed the signs for Princess Cakes through the hallway to the main dining room. About 20 tables inside were covered with white linen and full table service and large white linen napkins. At the front of the room, a large sign read Princess Cakes with the company's logo emblazoned on it. The tables had cards with names on them at the place settings. I was reading those when Debbie gave my arm another tug. Stay behind me and stick close. I realised she spotted Hank on the other side of the room. I tucked in behind her like I was following a fullback to the end zone for a touchdown. We took a zigzag pattern through the tables, stopping on occasion to excuse ourselves as we squeezed past people. As we closed in on the other side of the room, I could see Hank. I could see the back of him. He was talking with an older man who was flanked by two blonde women about half his age. My sibling for the evening moved to completely block me as she headed behind her stepfather and tapped him on the shoulder. "Hi, Dad. We're here." Since she always called him Hank, he was already confused as he turned his head towards us. I expected him to be surprised to see me, but I was not expecting the look of shock that appeared on his face. Maybe something more like shock and horror had a baby, and that would cause this particular look. He started saying hi with some confidence, but it went high and ended more like a question as his eyes went wide to take me all in. The smile also melted to something related to terror, like he had just seen a ghost or watched a squirrel not quite make it across the road in front of a big truck. Hank leaned in, putting his arms around us in a hug, but more of a huddle. "What is happening right now? You needed Kelly and me here, and we brought you Kelly and me." Debbie was speaking in a whisper just loud enough for the three of us to hear. "Hi, Daddy." I said it as genuinely as I could. "I'm glad I could be here for you on your big night." Hank pulled back a little, fully turning his attention to me. He put his hands on my shoulders, taking in the sight of his new stepdaughter. "Does your mother know about this?" Debbie remained the spokesperson for the two of us. "Not yet. We were going to show her first, but she said to meet her here instead." I felt like Hank was having a meltdown with the sudden change for his family, in front of his employer. I needed to do something to distract him. "I only did this to help you. If this doesn't work, we will leave right now and go back to the house." I made the offer and waited for his decision. He didn't get the chance, because the man he was talking to forced him to speak up. "Henry, are you going to introduce us?" Hank took a cleansing breath as quietly as he could, then turned to his boss. "Mr. Opdyke, this is our daughter Debbie." She reached out her hand to shake his, and gave Hank a wink. "And this is my sister Kelly." I also reached out to shake hands, and added a slight curtsy to the introduction. I kept thinking of the instructions that were drilled into my head on the way to the party, keeping my grip light. "Mr. Opdyke is the president and founder of the company." Hank announced to us to let us know that the test was already underway. Mr. Opdyke took it from there. "Debbie and Kelly, it is a pleasure to meet you. These are two of my daughters." He gestured to the woman to his right. "Melissa is in charge of sales on the East Coast. And Lucy is the head of marketing for us." Both women shook our hands and said they would visit with us later. They moved to the next table, and we were ushered to our seats. Once we sat down, Hank had a ton of questions, but only managed to say one word. He pointed at the only actual girl at the table and said start. Debbie then spilled out every detail of what happened over the previous several hours. When she was done, he nodded his head, then looked at me. "I never would have suggested this. Are you okay with what is happening?" "I'm okay. I mean, I am nervous and a little terrified, but I am okay. I guess I miss pants right now, but I will live." Hank paused for a moment while he found his words. It takes a good man to put himself in a situation. It also takes a crazy man. You are a crazy good man, or girl, or person. Just thanks. The moment was paused when Debbie announced she's here. Aunt Margaret was standing in the doorway. Her hair was a golden blonde and neatly styled in curled, pulled to the back of her head. Her gown was burgundy with sleeves ending at her elbows. Large gold buttons down the front matched the jewellery she was wearing. "I got her," Hank alerted us. He jumped up, working his way through the crowd to intercept his wife before she spotted us on her own. Unfortunately, the Opdykes were near the entrance by then, and Hank did not have time to explain anything to her before her introduction to his boss. "Is this your wife, Hank?" "Yes, sir. Margaret Woodward. May I present Joseph Opdyke, President and CEO of Princess Cakes." He shook her hand and smiled. "It is a pleasure to meet you. We met your girls earlier, and they are both charming." "Both?" She couldn't fathom what he was talking about. "They are waiting for us at the table." Hank gave her a rub on her back to keep her calm as they turned towards us. We both smiled and waved, knowing we were going to tell the whole story again. At least we knew that Hank was on our side if there was any protest on her part. Lucy told her that she had some gifts for Debbie and I, and she would bring them to our table later. Aunt Mum thanked her and excused herself to head to our table. When she arrived, she didn't have any questions. Instead, she told me to stand up so she could look me over from head to toe. I also had to spin around a couple of times. When I turned back, she was standing in front of me, pulling me into a hug. "I can't believe this," she whispered in my ear. "I can't believe you did this. You needed me. What kind of daughter would I be if I let you down?" She stepped back, raising her right hand and fixing that strand of hair that came loose again. "There," she said. "You're perfect again." After getting their approval, I was able to relax again. We sat as waiters started bringing in plates filled with chicken, potatoes, vegetables, and rolls. I tried to remember all the rules for eating that I was told, but my goal was to manage enough room at the end for the pumpkin pie. I did manage to drink too much during the meal, and for the first time since I was in preschool, I needed company to go to the bathroom. My coach talked me through what to pull up and what to pull down to get the job done. Once I emerged from the stall, I was given a once-over before Debbie gave me a fresh coat of makeup on my eyes and lips before we headed back to the table. When we returned, we found small wrapped boxes where our plates had been. Notes taped to the boxes said they were not to be opened until we were told to open them. After a few more minutes, a podium was rolled to the front of the room and the lights in the room dimmed. Mr. Opdyke and his daughters moved to the front of the room as people settled down. The president and CEO stepped to the mic to start his presentation. Thank you for joining us tonight, and on behalf of Princess Cakes, thank you for an amazing year. The pause led to light clapping from the room. He continued, "We are, and always have been, a family business. That tiara on our logo has 5 stars, 1 for each of my daughters. Melissa and Lucy are with me tonight, but the others are working in other parts of the company. We appreciate your place in our family, and we hope to keep these relationships with you for years to come." More applause came from the crowd as he stepped back, and his daughter Melissa took the podium. "I want to personally thank you all for the work you've done. We have seen record sales this year, thanks to your hard work. We have seen so much growth. We are expanding in administration. In fact, we would like to announce the newest Vice President of Sales, Mr. Hank Woodward." What? For the second time in one night, Hank had the shock of a lifetime. He knew this was real because of the hug his wife clamped him into as he rose. The room again applauded for Hank and the big news he was trying to absorb. He loosened his collar, but the smile on his face seemed like it was going to be in place for the rest of the night. Once he was able to compose himself and sit down, Lucy took the microphone over. "Hank, it was a pleasure to meet you and your girls tonight. So many lovely young ladies and gentlemen are tonight. Please take the package on the table with your name on it and open it." We slid the ribbons off the boxes and pulled off the lid. Inside mine was an ornate necklace with the name Kelly engraved. Debbie held hers up to show her name, as did every girl in the room. The boys held up white plastic cards with their names on them. "Boys, those cards are good for $500 at Gamer Garage. You get your pick of games and systems to rot your brains out." The boys let out a large cheer. I would guess for the games part, and not for the rotting part. The girls seemed a little disappointed, but not for long. "Girls, I see the disappointment, but those are not just necklaces. Those are a ticket to a day of pampering tomorrow. Be sure to show it to the limo driver when you are picked up in the morning." That news sent the girls into a frenzy, and I did my best to match their energy. I didn't feel like I made it. I promised that I gave it my best effort. While everyone was screaming, I looked at the stage, and I swear that Lucy was staring right at me. I tried to distract myself by looking at my aunt and cousin, but my aunt made it worse by asking me, "Are you going to do this?" I realised I was so caught up in the cheering that I didn't realise that would need to be a girl again tomorrow to keep the ruse going. We finished our night, retrieved our coats, and headed to the valet to get our cars. Aunt Margaret asked me to ride with her. Once we were in the car and driving back, she asked me about the night, how I felt about being a girl for an evening in front of people, and if I was okay with everything that happened. "What are you going to wear tomorrow?" Her question didn't have an answer because I had no idea. I'm thinking you can get away with leggings and a t-shirt. Frankly, I would have rather slept in than do this, but it was the last step in keeping Hank in good standing with his bosses. For a day of pampering, you want something that is easy to get in and out of. I already have something in mind. She didn't say anything after that, but I could see the wheels turning in her mind. When she pulled into the garage, she shut the engine off and turned to look me in the eye. "What you did tonight was amazing. It was also stupid, dangerous and crazy. I know it was done out of love, but this is going to be longer than you thought." I nodded my head, but my brain was starting to think about what I would be in for tomorrow. What had I done? "You look gorgeous, but we need to get ready for bed. Hang up that dress neatly. Debbie will help you remove your makeup. Everything else goes in the hamper in the bathroom." Just taking the shoes off was nearly enough relief to make me pass out. Debbie had some cloths she used to wipe my face clean, the barrettes were removed, and the tights and undies went into the dirty clothes bin. Kelly's bathrobe was on the back of the door, and I wore it all the way to her bed, where I passed out almost immediately. I have no idea what dreams I may have had that night, but it would not likely match what I was in for the next morning. The wake-up call came at 7 am, even though the limo was not supposed to be at the house until 9. This is how it worked. Debbie grabbed my shoulders and shook me, while at the same time she repeatedly asked, "Are you awake yet?"
1 nah.
Would not recommend. I finally rose and stumbled towards the bathroom to eventually get into a hot shower. The smell of flowers was strong as I washed my hair and scrubbed all the skin I could reach. Debbie told me to shave my arms and legs while I was in there and to use her lotion on my body once I was out. With that done, I went back to the bedroom where a new pair of panties and a bra were already laid out for me. Debbie appeared as I slid them on with something she called chicken cutlets. She said they would give me shape. Aunt Mum had an outfit ready. She gave me leggings that had a skirt to hide my maleness and a large pullover top to hide the rest of me. Debbie gave me a few touches of makeup and tied a scarf over my hair, since it would be styled again as part of our day. She had a matching look that was completed just as the limo pulled up. I was coached all the way to the door, but repeatedly told to stick with Debbie and let her protect me. I felt confident that I could pull this off, right up until the door was opened. There was a loud knock on the door, but when it opened, it was not the driver. Instead, Lucy was standing on the porch. "Good morning, ladies. We have a very busy schedule, but first, we need to see your ticket first." Debbie pulled her necklace out from under her shirt. I reached for mine, but it was not there. Aunt Mum came to the rescue, grabbing the box from the coffee table and handing it to me. "I wanted to put it on her first," she said. She pulled the necklace out of the box I was holding, opened the clasp and slid it around my neck before reconnecting it. She kissed my cheek and said, "You deserve this special day." Lucy led us to the limo, where the driver was holding the door for us. As we climbed into the car, we saw 4 other girls already enjoying snacks and orange juice. About 20 minutes later, the car pulled to the front of a building and stopped at the grand entrance. The door opened, and Lucy stepped out. "Ladies, welcome to Posh Princess Spa." She waved her hand towards the doors, which opened to show the staff waiting for us inside. "These are your hosts for today. Please find the one holding a sign with your name on it. They will make sure today will be an experience you will never forget." She seemed to be staring at me again during the announcement. I hoped I was just paranoid. The other girls almost seemed to run towards the hosts. I was more reserved in my approach, which was too slow for my host, Chrissy. She saw that everyone else had paired up, so she came to me. "Hi, Kelly. I'm Chrissy, and I am your host. We have a big day planned, but we may need to start with a caffeine drip." She laughed at her own joke. I just yawned and nodded. She brought me down a long hallway to a series of doors, opened one, and led me inside. The lights were dim and soft flute music was playing. I was told to strip down and slide under the sheet that was covering the table in the middle of the room. This was not going to be related to the caffeine boost that was mentioned just moments ago. I kept the bra and panties on and slipped into position. A knock at the door came from the woman who was going to give me a massage. She pulled part of the sheet back and started working on my right arm and back. I gave in and started snoring. I was forced to wake up once when she wanted me to roll over. I didn't wake up until she tuned up the lights and told me she was done. I managed to get back on my feet and started to get dressed, but panicked when I realised the left cup of my bra was empty. I looked all over and found a cutlet sitting on a small table near my clothes. The woman who gave me the massage must have picked it up from the floor. That meant that she knew. She knew my secret, and I had to hope that she could keep that secret to herself. I put it back in place, then finished dressing. My host was waiting for me and was talking with Lucy when I came out. "There she is. You look very relaxed." Lucy was giving me a very close look, less relaxed than I was a moment ago. I was looking back and forth between my host and Lucy to see if they had any suspicions. Both seemed to accept that I really was a girl named Kelly. Chrissy tapped her clipboard and started walking. I followed her to another room where I was told to leave my clothes in a small basket and put on the robe that was on a hanger. That turned out to be the waxing room, and I was subjected to a slow and steady torture that removed all of the hair that I had spent years looking forward to growing. I would miss it. I would also feel colder without it for some reason. Chrissy then led me to another room where a hairstylist was waiting. She wrapped a cape around me and led me to a sink where she started scrubbing my hair. Once it was rinsed, she sat me up and took me back to her station. She used the towel to dry my hair, then pulled a cart over covered with pieces of hair that were long and in a colour close to my own. I couldn't see how she did it, and I am not ruling out magic, but my shoulder-length hair was brushing my butt by the time she was done. If this was not bad enough, I saw Chrissy and Lucy walk in with a gift-wrapped box while this was going on. Lucy said, "I hope you don't mind, but I went ahead and got you something I heard you needed." I thanked them both and pulled the ribbon off while Chrissy held the box. She lifted the lid, and inside were 2 boobs. It didn't dawn on me why they would give me these, so I asked, "Where is the rest of her?" They both laughed, proving the question was actually more serious to me than it was to them. Chrissy said, "The masseuse told me what happened while she was working, so Lucy went ahead and got these for you. They will prevent any future problems." I wasn't sure how to react, so I was probably more honest than I should have been. "I honestly never thought I would have boobs. Thank you." Lucy waved me off. "All girls feel that way at your age." Then the puberty fairy hits them in the chest a couple of times with her wand. Sometimes the wand looks a lot like a credit card. I was told to lay back and open the top of the robe. I could feel them moving things around before something cold and heavy went in place and was held in place for a few minutes. When I sat up, I realised my new gifts were still in place with no one holding them. All I could hope was that this was nothing permanent. The stylist, if you ever want to ask for her, was bound and determined to leave every hair on my head with some kind of curl. Some pins or clips or ribbons went on the sides, and the whole thing was topped with a small princess tiara, in true princess style. I thanked Cindy for the work before Chrissy led me to the next room. Liz was the makeup artist waiting for me. She had all kinds of colours, powders, pencils, brushes and other things. None of it looked familiar to me, but at this point I resigned myself to just let things happen. I tilted my head back as she started, wiping away what Debbie had done that morning. She gave me a coat of what she called foundation, which hid the details on my face, so she could then draw a face on me. Next came powder, blush, contouring, eyeshadow, eyeliner, mascara, fake lashes, and what felt like 15 steps to make my lips look bright and shiny. She explained each step as she worked, so I could reproduce it at home. I hoped to forget everything she said by next week. As she finished, a pair of women arrived with another cart filled with bottles of several colours and other devices. Chrissy said I should lay back and enjoy this part. Both hands and feet were given massages, and I had to fight my ticklishness on my toes to make it through this. Once they were done, all of my nails were filed, and soon sported a colour called chocolate. Chrissy said there was one more stop, which came as a relief. I was given some foam flip-flops to slide onto my feet. When we were given clearance to move the newly polished toes, Chrissy led me to the biggest clothes closet I have ever seen. Shirley was in charge of this room, and she was a stylist to the stars. If you read a recent fashion magazine, you likely saw one of her clients on the pages. I felt like I would be a waste of her time. Shirley pulled a cloth measuring tape from around her neck and started taking measurements up and down my body. She shouted out numbers to her assistant to write down, while a third person pulled a cart filled with clothing to an empty changing room. I was handed a chocolate brown bra and frilly panty and sent to the change room. The new bra seemed to push my new assets up and together for quite a display. Down below, row after row of fluffy ruffles circled my butt and did a great job, and hiding what was happening on my front side as well. Shirley and her assistants were working over the rack of clothing they brought in, settling on a sleeveless gold gown. The skirt was several layers of netting underneath a gold satin top layer. It stopped below my knee, just high enough to see the gold sandals that showed off the colour on my toes. Shirley then helped me into a brown jacket that stopped midway on my ribs, with sleeves that ran to my elbows. A few quick adjustments and I was declared ready. No one would say what exactly I was ready for. Chrissy gushed over how I looked, before leading me to another room that was brightly lit. Lucy was standing next to a photographer who was getting his gear ready. "I knew it," she announced. "I knew this was the right colour for you." She walked over to me, giving me a huge smile. She took my hands in hers as she looked me over from head to toe. This moment was worth all of it. The party, the limo this morning, the makeup and all of the spa treatments. "Kelly, this is your actual gift." Lucy released my left hand and led me by the right hand to an X on the floor. I was then told me to look towards the camera, and Gino, the photographer, began his instructions on poses, looking left and then right, what expression to make. And after dozens of photos, a cart was brought in with a present on it. I was handed the gift box and opened it on camera to reveal a chocolate cake. I pulled it out, then looking happy or surprised before Gino told me to take a small bite. I did my best to make it look delicious and amazing. Once that was done, Lucy reappeared from behind a monitor screen. "Nicely done, Kelly. That is your gift." She then folded her arms, as though something amazing had just been settled. "My gift is the chocolate cake?" I am sure my face did not hide my confusion at all. "Your gift is being the mascot of the new Princess Tiara cakes. The photos we just took of you will be printed on every box that comes out of the bakery." She smiled, and I blinked a few times, trying to take in the true meaning of what she just said. Most people would be shocked with the news, but for me, it probably also looked like panic. This would affect every trip to the convenience store for the rest of my life. Lucy saw my reaction and tried to calm me. The good news is, your sister is here with you. Let's tell her the good news together. She led me to another room, where Debbie was waiting for me, still dressed in the same outfit she started her day in. She seemed surprised at the sight of me. Kelly? Yes, it's me. I wasn't talking to you. I followed the path her eyes were looking, turning to see the real Kelly enter the room. My secret was not a secret, and they seemed to be aware of this for a while. It was too much of a shock, I guess. I went from seeing my cousin to seeing nothing but black. I woke up sprawled out on a couch, with Chrissy using smelling salts to bring me back to life. It took a few minutes for my vision to clear, but when it did, I could see Debbie and Kelly standing over me. Aunt Mum was standing with them, along with Hank and someone else. My mum? It was my mum. The list of people unaware of my secret was rapidly getting shorter. Thank goodness so many children are born every second, or that list would have been even worse. What is happening? I asked a very fair question, at least by my standards. Lucy rose from the chair she was sitting in and came to my side. Mark, you are an amazing person. Hank came to us after the party to let us know what you did. He already told us Kelly was away, so when you showed up to help protect his job, he felt like he needed to explain it to us. We never would have guessed that you weren't really Kelly. Hank then spoke up. What you did last night at the party was one thing, but I couldn't let you do anything that would put the company in jeopardy. I told Lucy, and she promised to take care of you today. Lucy then added, we knew that Hank was a great guy, just from his co-workers. For you to go to these lengths to help him, you must be pretty special too. That being said, we knew we wanted to offer your mum a job. Anyone who raises a kid like you must be a great person herself. Mum smiled the biggest I think I've ever seen from her. I can't believe how beautiful you are. I've always wondered what you would have looked like if you were born a girl. Either way, I have a brave kid who loves his family even beyond his personal embarrassment. That was accurate. I was embarrassed all day, thinking I had a secret that I needed to keep. Not only that, but I was a 14-year-old boy who looked like a princess, and my picture dressed like this would show up on store shelves across the country. Lucy promised me that they would edit the photos so it would not really look like me at all. I gave Kelly her necklace, and I was gifted one with Nikki on it. I guess the name tested well with consumers. Since I was already this deep into it, I agreed to more photos after Mum and Hank looked over the modelling contract Lucy had for me. While Kelly was going through the makeover that she was supposed to have, I went through a costume change. In a white dress, with colourful polka dots covering the top like confetti. A few pieces of colourful paper were carefully placed in my hair, matching the small birthday squares cakes in the next shoot. I was halfway through the pumpkin squares session, wearing a light brown dress with orange laces up the front, and an orange skirt covered in pumpkins along the bottom edge, when the door opened. Kelly walked in fresh from her makeover, wearing a white sequin gown with large wings covered in pure white feathers. A halo was sitting on top of her head, which was almost invisible until she got under the lights. After a quick change, I stood next to her in a black sequin dress and a tiara that had cat ears on either side. Lots of photos were taken in these outfits for posters and print ads. After that, I took a break while Kelly posed for very cherry pies and lemon creme bars. It was much easier to watch than to be the one who was posing. Once those were done, we headed back to the makeup room one more time for what they said was a natural look. Our nails were painted pink with a white tip. We were both given red Santa-style dresses and wide black belts. Black knee-length boots topped with white fur filled in the bottom of the outfit, and the tiaras were replaced with small red and white hats. The shoot for elf cakes was easy, and Kelly and I were able to have fun posing and making each other laugh. The smiles came easy now that I was not trying to hold my secret in. I meant to help Hank get his new job, but that came with Mum getting a new job as well. I now had a contract that meant my college would be paid for, and I would be an anonymous model seen across the country. I would also a lifetime supply of snack cakes, which would make me a popular teammate for years to come. Of course, I would be dressed much differently than I am now. Once we were finished, I was given a new outfit, with matching pants and top. I thought it showed off my new body shape, thanks to the matching pair of gifts I was sporting on my chest. Lucy brought me one final gift. The bag had my name on it for the first time. Inside was a gift card for $500 to Gamer Garage, along with bottles of adhesive and solvent for my bra fillers. That night, Kelly reclaimed her bed, and I went home with Mum. She asked for a couple of days with a daughter, and I agreed. We had a lot of mother-daughter experiences in before I had to change back for school. I kept the outfit handy, and when Mum needed a break, she and her daughter would head out of town for a weekend shopping extravaganza. I own far more dresses than I could have guessed just a year ago, and I am fairly sturdy on a set of 2-inch heels. Mum is much happier with her new job, working with Hank in the sales office. Hank is doing very well in his new role, overseeing others as they get their new cakes in stores. Sales are growing steadily, and the new ad campaign is really a hit with retailers. Debbie isn't sorry that she missed out on the whole model thing. She was already older than the look they wanted, and she knows that there was already someone with her name in the snack cake industry. Kelly has taken on a new status at school, thanks to those photos. Kids recognize her from the boxes, and she is constantly asked by friends if she has a twin sister. She just tells them that computer editing is used, which is technically true. I am doing my best to stay available if I get called back into action. Hank is hinting that some summer pie flavors are under development, and that may mean Princess Nikki will be called to the studio. I have my tiara ready, just in case.